All right, welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, and Dedication. My name is Dakota Lange, along with co-host Garrett Cotton. Mr. Kyle Deever, welcome, brother.
Happy to be in the house. This is the second time I've been on the podcast for the first time solo.
First time solo.
I've been a little offended that some of the people got some solos before me, but that's all right.
He was begging us to come on. So just
had to
I had to pay a lot of money to get in this chair, I'll tell you what.
Absolutely, bro. Hey, man, we're doing a company conference. It's my second company conference this year. Cotton, this your second or third?
Third, yep.
Third company conference.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long? When did you start?
August 9th of 2022.
And when did you start?
March 1st of 2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah.
You've only been doing it for
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2
That's
years.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, flying by, right? Flying by. That's what we were talking about. Like last year when we came, we had probably around 15 Louisiana people,
Yeah.
and this year we're going to be looking at somewhere in the upper 30s.
Jeez,
You know,
what is it about? I mean, you guys are obviously some of the best recruiters we've got, the whole Louisiana squad. But what is it about so easy to? I won't say easy. Easy is the wrong word, but so much ample opportunity to pull from Louisiana. What is it about the conditions there, conditions here? What you guys have? Why are you able to do so much of it?
Yeah, Louisiana. The thing that got me is the opportunity in general. The opportunity to make more than $4,000 a month. You know, the only way that you make money in Louisiana is you work in a plant, 712s.
ExxonMobil.
Turnarounds. Yeah. You work offshore, and that's away from your family for months at a time, or you come for money. That's the three ways to make it. I always said that me coming through college, it was about socioeconomic wealth. I just have to know the right people, and eventually I'll fall into that crowd.
Yeah.
But I was trying that for a long time, and I got free drinks.
Yeah.
but that was about the only wealth that I could see from doing it that way. So what do you think, Dakota? Anything other?
Yeah, I would say just the plants, back where we're from, if you work at ExxonMobil, you got a big 401k coming whenever you retire at 50, but you're going to work in the plant for 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
And a college degree doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I would say as far as like me growing up, I've always wanted to be wealthy, right? I've always trying to start a lawn care business, start a pressure washing company, whatever I could do to get some cash. But I felt like I could never find that next step. And whenever I got to Denver with Cotton, and I'm like, holy shit! Like I see these guys like Cotton, looking at Kaleo, like this man's making 50 G's a month, and I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it, know. And I think that's one of the biggest things whenever we get the people out of Louisiana, we have a common ground because we're all from the same place, so they know that we're no different than them. So when they see that we're doing it, they're like, well, Louisiana people, everybody's ego's huge. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, well, hell yeah, brother, I can do it. I know I can.
Have you found it's more difficult as you guys have progressed to market owner and then eventually as you guys progressed further on? For me, when I first started the company, I was the owner, but also I was a closer. I was a full-time closer. Mm-hmm. So I could get my friends because they're only going to be one level below me, right? They're only going to be a knocker to me being a closer. As it progressed, I still get some recruits, but it's difficult to get people to who I grew up with or who I'm around to be comfortable being 4 levels below me. Have you guys found it's more difficult or it hasn't hit you?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing is what makes it easy is our system. Our system's a little bit unorthodox. Have somebody live in my house for 2 months.
And, that's actually what I used to do all the time. I wasn't like you guys, though, where I'd bring them in. I said, you have 3 weeks, and then you're moving out.
Yep.
So that was my timelines. I gave them 3 weeks, and they'd make money in those 3 weeks, and then I'd make them move out quickly so they could do it. Yep. But that is a tried and true method is like a risk-free opportunity there.
Yeah, and we give them a blacktop road to success, and it's just up to them if they want to be on that road. So I would say that I have seen the challenges moving up in positions of it's harder to give my direct recruits that type of training that they need and showing them the vision. But by people that I've trained implementing that system, like Dakota continues to do it, Lizzie continues to do it, Guppy does it, Dylan does it. There's so many people in the office that, and especially now, if any of my guys are struggling to recruit, I'm like, hey, look, I can put this guy in your house. Like that's my trade-off. I'm going to put this person in your house, and that's your recruit, but you're going to have to take them under your wing and train them. So it's becoming easier now as I'm moving higher up and becoming further from that entry-level position. It's more of me. I feel like I'm a coach, and I'm putting the players where they need to be.
Yeah, because I just had a big set of recruits come to PG, and I don't deal with them as much anymore. I just put them under Trias, and I say, hey, those are my people. Make sure you take care of them, and then I kind of just wipe my hands. Do you feel like you guys are doing something similar to that now?
Well, I would say at the market owner position, one thing, because it is a little bit different, rather whenever I was closing in Denver, I would be like, all right, guys, you're going to ride with me every day. And then if I got an appointment, you're going to ride with me to that appointment, you're going to knock around the appointment, right? In the position that I'm in now, I really hold my closers accountable. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna help you with this guy right here, but I'm gonna hold you accountable to making sure you're training him exactly our way, doing the system. Me personally, I don't think it's any more challenging.
Yeah, I think it's because we hold the standard so tough. Like if you're coming into our office and you're going to you want to have the same successes that we have, we say it all the time. Don't recreate the system, replicate the system. That's all it is. Yeah. If it's worked for me, Dakota, Lizzie, Guppy, Dylan, I promise you it works. Just you have to invest in that system.
And you go to my office now in Austin, and every single one of Dustin got his third self-set close, so now he's got his recruits up underneath. Every one of my recruits has first ups on somebody's appointments. Mm-hmm. Every single. Some of them got 3. And that's the thing is just if they come in and they replicate the system of what we do, you got to be the trainer in the field. I can bring the people to the office, right? But now as the position I'm in, I'm not going to be out there. If I'm training the knockers, then my closer's not doing their job.
Yeah, but I think it's the system that you guys built is we have a more in-depth of what does it take to get promoted, right? We just take that a whole lot more in depth and hold their hand through it. Because to get promoted from a knocker to a closer, 2 months of 8 sales and 2 recruits. Our system we call it our system, but it's a lot more in-depth hands-on to get them to that first stage.
Yeah.
And so once we get them to that first stage, well, look, you go show everybody else what you just did. And then it replicates again.
What's not to interview you guys on your own podcast.
Mm-hmm. We'll turn it to you in a second.
Yeah, I love it. Keep asking questions.
What I want to know is what's some along the way. I've had some because the system is so intricate and it's got to be done a certain way and whatever. I've squabbled with you, Dakota, more than I've squabbled with you, Garrett. But I've gotten into it with both of you at some point, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. What's been something that you've had to learn the hard way, and what's been something that just kind of once you did it, then it was like, oh, that's why it's done that way.
We'll go back to our conversation. Whenever I was in Denver, I was the hard nosed. I was the dropping the hammer. You know what I mean?
The bad cop.
Yeah, the bad cop. I guess you can call it. And at the market owner position, that was something that I had to adjust to. Obviously, when I first got there, I was in the field way more. Running the appointments, I could still play that role. But as the office grew, it's very challenging for me to give other people that control, I guess that could be the word, give them the control to be able to where they can take that full ownership and they can be the bad cop coming in here. Hey, we can't be having all these CADs or whatever the case might be, rather than me always being the person that's coming in the chats, hammering down on people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's that's something I've worked on the past couple months.
And that's something I've had to learn the hard way too. I know you've read it, but have you both read "Winning" by Tim Grover?
I haven't read "Winning."
Good one for you to read. You should read it for sure. But he talks a lot about one thing I had to learn. Very difficult was I just have this natural desire to make money, to grasp an opportunity that's been put in front of me and just run with it because I've had to be extremely poor. Mm-hmm. I mean. 200 something in debt. I owed 40 G's to my father, 20 G's to my younger sister. I had a 37% interest loan on my truck tires. I mean, it was gross, right? Rough. And so when I finally had this thing put in front of me, I'm like, okay, it's like you teach person A and person B how to make $1,000 an hour. Person A will figure out a way to work 12, 13 hours a day, and person B will work 5 hours in a day and then 5 hours in a month and be done, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had this thing inside me that's like, okay, I've got to run with it. And it's like what Grover talks about in Winning with Michael Jordan and Kobe. Terrible, terrible coaches, incredible players because they just couldn't understand why the other people didn't just want it the way they wanted it, right? Mm-hmm. Kobe said, I don't even speak the same language as lazy people and so that's been an incredible thing that I've had to learn is how to be able to be a coach to somebody who doesn't want it as bad as I do. Mm-hmm. How to not feel sick that this person doesn't recognize this thing and see it for the life-changing opportunity. And that's been something I've had to learn the hard way. how do you, because you guys both want it bad. I mean, it's I wouldn't say you guys want it as bad as I want it, but you guys both want it bad, you know? How do you talk to the people who you can recognize don't want as much as you do, but you still have to coach them?
I think it comes to passion and belief because the favorite saying from that book is success doesn't make you heartless, it makes you use your heart less. And I've had to make some calls that some people would not, like me, like even the person who brought me into this company. You know, I've had to make some hard decisions based on people who are family with me, you know, but I say what I believe is right regardless of any emotional attachment. I don't care how it makes you feel. I don't care how, like, I'm telling you what needs to be done because this is going to have the best result. And it's probably something that I can still learn to handle because sometimes I'll pop off in the chat and then I'll get a little call from Levi or something. And he's like, hey, you're not wrong, but maybe not. Yeah. So that kind of stuff. So it's like sometimes my emotions, I'll let the anger get a little bit too high, but it's kind of, I got to just find that balance in myself to continue to still sell my passion, but have it seen from the person that I'm trying to deliver that message to.
Yeah, to bounce off of that, I would say, in my opinion, whenever you have those people around you that they might be not portraying the energy that they wanted as bad as we do, but in the back of my mind, I just look at it as they don't see the vision, right? Or they don't believe in themselves. So one of the approaches that I always take is just building them up. You know, one thing that Thomas noticed whenever he came into Austin, and when we did a one-on-one, he was talking about like it blows his mind on how many of my knockers talk about being market owners, right? And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow or Tuesday. Is like even if you're a knocker in this company or wherever you're at, right? That if you just believe it and you can see it, you can go do it, right? But you have to, and that comes from a leadership standpoint, and something that I take pride in is just constantly building my people up, letting them know that, hey, look, there's no difference between me and you, that you can achieve the exact same thing that I am right now. Somebody could come in right now today in performance windows and be a regional in 2 years. If they come in, they just do the system, right? It's you just have to come in, implement the system 100%, and it starts from the basics, right? To get your 8 sales to be a qualified closer, back-to-back months, what you got to do? You got to do the 3 things, right? 100% on script. It blows my mind because my knockers, y'all both been in my office, right? I hammer my guys on script. Like they better be 100% on script. It's already hard enough to be 100% on script that if you allow yourself not to be 100% on script, when you're on the doors, you're about 60%.
Well, habits
right?
form habits. You know, if you're off script, you're also going to be walking away from doors too early. You're also going to be sleeping late. You're also like, if it's doing things the way it's supposed to be done, or doing it the shortcut. And shortcuts will always lead to the same route. You know. But
I want to ask you a couple questions because obviously what we did, we finished at $85 million last year.
83 maybe, somewhere good.
Yeah, somewhere right there. So you know, just in my short time of being here, less than 2 years, I could only imagine, you know, what you have seen. What would you say is the biggest challenge on your day-to-day life as far as growing a company, you know, to a $1 billion organization eventually?
You know, there's a couple things. For me, one of the most difficult things has been having to leave behind things that I'm good at. I was an incredible knocker. Incredible. My highest I ever did, I did 18 sales in 1 month. It was February. I was at a previous company. And back then we got $500 per sale, flat, and then we'd get the bonuses. So
and what year, how old were you and what year was this?
This was, let's see, we started in 2020. This was probably like 2017, which means I was 25 years old. I had a daughter. And so I did 18 sales in February. It was in Cedar City, Utah, and I made $10,000. I was a great knocker. And then I became a closer. And honestly, truly, I mean, I can do a lot of other things, but in my heart, I'm a closer. I love closing deals. There's just something about – I used to watch you guys have both watched that Glenn Ross clip, right?
I don't know.
Okay, I must show you that. But I'd watch it before, especially if I'd get into a 2-3 close slump. I watch this video, and I guaranteed close the next, because there's just something about walking in. For me, it's just you walk into something that they've never met you before, and you walk out with them having trusted you enough to spend $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. I can't even put words to it. It's just so exhilarating. And I remember a lot of the times I'd walk in and just in the intro part in our first couple of minutes before I even get to the yes or no question, I remember knowing if it was a close or not.
Yeah,
and
you get that feel.
Yeah, then you're trying not to like giggle because you already know these people are buying and they don't even know it. And it's just like, it makes it so incredibly fun to do it. I remember coming up the yes or no line for us. I remember coming up with that on our first trip up here to Bountiful. We had an Airbnb up in there, and I'd always get the problem of people not
wanting to commit.
Not wanting to commit at the end. But so I was like, I'm just going to front load this thing, and then it just starting the company and going from 0 to 4 million was so incredibly fun. Mm-hmm. Going from 60 to 83 million is not fun. Mm-hmm. It's not fun. Going from 83 to 140, 150 that we're trying to do next year, it's not fun because, and you guys are going to see it as you're higher up, you have to be the field general and you have to call down shots and you don't get to go in there and it's so abstract what each day your effects are. But so the hardest part for me has been leaving things behind that I'm incredibly good at to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But no comfort in the growth zone, no growth in the comfort zone. One of the hardest things for me, too, my ADHD is raging all the time. I can't help myself. And did you ever read, what's that book? Atomic Habits.
I've started it. I didn't finish it.
James Clear.
I need to finish it.
Great one. I read it once a year just to remind myself. And
I started that Nike book.
Shoe Dog.
That's the one I'm on right now.
That was a life-changing book for me, honestly.
Yeah, he told me you got it on. He said I need to read it, so I'm working on it.
That's a good one.
Listen to it on the audio. That one, it's him, or it's a different guy reading it, but it's a great one. I love Shoe Dog.
Yep.
But in Atomic Habits, he talks about the greatest bodybuilders are not the guys who do the new and exciting lifts all the time. It's the guy who can do the same lift over and over and over again because that muscle is going to be incredibly strong where other people get lost in the monotony of it.
I find that struggle when we train a closer because now I've trained like 10, 12 closers, and it's from the beginning.
Yeah,
you got to learn to enjoy.
It's so monotonous, and you're like, I don't know if I can get myself. Or if you're doing another build-up, if your office has sent a bunch of people off, whatever it is, the monotony of having to do things from square one, but you're not really at square one. You're at square one F when originally you were at square one A, and then you went to square one B and C and D. But it still feels like square one. For me, the monotony of having to do things over and over and over again, it's tough. But when you look in the rearview mirror and see how far you've come, it's very gratifying.
Yeah, I kind of consider it like a race. Like I've always seen, because I tell people, I'm very transparent in our office where, like I'm like you, I loved closing. Yeah. Like I used to get the giddy, so excited walking into a home. Even if I get to run an appointment now, I get giddy because I'm like, I'm about to show all these boys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't get to do it often because I have like 5 closers plus all the time. And so I've learned so much of getting to that next position of like, if I sprint to the next position, now I'm at market owner. I mean, market owner's fun-ish, not really. But I learned that if I can sprint as market owner, flip these people as fast as possible, then I'm going to get to that next step. And I don't know if I'm going to like the next role, but it's got to be different than the mundane of doing the same thing.
You say you hate market owner. I love market owner.
Do you?
Yeah, and I think that just because if you go look at my back end, like I have no age in AR, like I don't have any issues with back end at all. My office guys on top of my critical measurements, and I would say a lot of people when they get into the stage, and I'm not referring this back to you, but when they get into the stage where they get wore out on market owner and stuff like that, it's just because you don't have your systems in place.
Yeah.
Right?
If everybody's doing their job,
right.
It's not bad being market owner.
It's easy.
Yeah, but how do you love doing the same thing over and over? I mean, don't you just get this itch where it's like, I need something new in my life? But at some point you hit it. There's not going to be new.
Well, I guess that I guess it's a little bit different for me because I'm still in the building stage of trying to spin off these market owners, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm still in my building process. I guess whenever I get to the point where I spun off 2-3 market owners, it'd be a little bit different. But at this point, man, I love it.
And it's one of those things where it's like that album cover, "Suffering from Success." If ourselves could look at it, I mean, for me, it's about 6 years ago, you guys about 3 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
could look at what you got now, at the problems you got now, like, oh, I would love to have those problems.
We had a talk last night of like our monthly checks. We're like, man, they're feeling small.
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, just think
Exactly.
if we said that.
We were sitting at the dinner table and we said something, and they were like, they were talking about his first big check, and it was like $60,000. I was like, man, fuck a $60,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, and both of us, Journey and Caitlin, looked at us. They're like, do you hear what you're saying
Yeah.
right now? And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy.
It's not a lot of money. It goes
You know
really
what's funny is I was getting after my wife the other day because we just got back from Africa, and we had to take this long dirt road that was all pitchy. I mean, it was terrible for about 30, 35 miles. It was miserable. And we get all the way through. It takes about 2 hours, and we drive for another hour. And I say, hey, how much could I offer you to go all the way back and all the way? So basically do the road twice more, right? So another 6. I said, what if I offered you $10,000? And she goes, oh, definitely not. I'm like, so that's the difference between me and you is I would definitely do it for the $10,000.
Yeah.
Because I can't forget where I come from, but you'll see your girls will get, I don't know, maybe it's just my wife, but when we sit in first class, if we're in front row, she complains because she wants the TV screen in front of her.
Yeah.
That's gross, dude.
Different problems.
So it's great problems to have, you know. How do you, I don't know. You guys ever, for me, I always think to myself, you know, I'm going to do all the fun things in case this ever goes away. But then I'm sure if it all went away, I'm like, wow, why did I do those fun things? I should have saved my money and things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how are you guys? Okay, just be real here, okay? What mistakes have you made now that you've come into money? I'll tell you some of my big mistakes, because this is what people need to hear. I loaned out too much money. Loaned it out. I won't say their names. I have one person who owes me $10,000 that I'll never get back. Mm-hmm. One person that owes me $18,000 that I'll definitely never get back. Another person that owes me about $50,000 that we'll see if I'll get back.
I've never had the big debts like that, but I've paid a lot of people's rents. I've paid a lot of people's plane, lots. Like I've probably spent $25,000, $30,000 on rent and airplane travel for people who did not come work.
I've done that.
And that's the reality. Like, it's like if I get you on the phone and you show me interest, I'm buying your plane ticket right now. So I'm hooked. Look, you're hooked. Now it's going to be hard to tell me no. Now I've already spent that money on you, and so I've spent a lot of money of people who they complain about being in so much in debt they can't pay their rent, and I'm like, dude, what's your rent? I'll send that to you Zelle right now. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned. I told Caitlin going into 2025, this is the year of us.
Yeah.
Because when we come, moving up in positions and stuff like that, life's changing. I'm going to still be recruiting, but I'm not going to be recruiting to my house.
Well, it's just I can't remember a time. Obviously, I don't know anybody who when I was coming up broke, I don't know anybody who makes what I make. Mm-mm. You guys probably didn't know anybody when you guys were coming up who was making the kind of money that you guys make.
No, the only people we know is you and Levi.
Right, exactly.
People with performance.
Yep.
But the thing is, when I was coming up broke, there was nobody that I could possibly reach out to. Maybe my old man who lent me the 40 G's to try and start some different kinds of businesses, but nobody that could loan me that kind of money. And so, there's a story that comes out of like 1800s England where these guys, they went on strike, they went on riot because the welfare checks were being delivered too early in the morning and it was waking them up at 8:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it's so part and parcel of when you give too much welfare, people, they just get reliant on it instead of the work. In your guys' brain, because I still haven't figured this out, how do you help somebody without them just getting stuck on the teat, as it were?
Say that again?
How do you help somebody financially without them just getting dependent on you helping money? How do you have money spur them to work?
I haven't figured that out.
I haven't figured it out.
I just take the risk.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, it's like kind of like a close. I think about it as opportunity. If somebody comes across me that they need help, and it's something that may attribute to the growth of my business, I'm like, well, here's the risk, But in business is all risk. You have to continue to take bigger risk.
Yeah.
For Dakota was a huge risk.
Yeah.
Dakota,
15,000.
I only had 19 in my checking account. And I sent him 15 of it. So but now it paid off.
Yeah, of course.
But
spades.
Sometimes you don't win. It's kind of like going to play blackjack. You're not guaranteed to win half the time.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, loaning out money, you can never expect to get it back, right? But crazy.
Wasn't there just something in you though? Not to cut you off, but me, I took money from people. Like I had a loan from my dad, from my sister, and I remember at one point, me and Levi were knocking. He's like, "Why don't you just declare bankruptcy?" I was like, I took the money. I can't do that. Isn't there just something in you in your gut stomach when you've taken money that I must pay this money back?
Yeah, not everybody's that way. And I think it comes down to you can't help the helpless. I preach that of like, I could give you the house. I can give you the job. I can give you the script.
Let me tell you what's crazy is that, back it up a little while when we first got here, he loaned a guy money. I'm not going to name drop nobody. He loaned a guy money. Blah, 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 kept his career with Performance Windows. And I was so persistent on making sure that he paid him his money. Yeah. And then guess what? Now he owes me money.
Yeah, I got my money there. Yeah. It was a random Zelle one day, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? But like you're talking about like that internal guilt, like that's a lot of, but it goes back to just if you're willing to give it out, you can't expect to get it back.
But that's biblical. I mean? It doesn't say give what you're left without your right knowing or something like that.
There was a guy, James actually called me probably about 2-3 weeks ago. Indeed guy come through, and he was a bartender. I was, telling him, like, dude, you're going to be a dog. Comes in, he works for like 2 weeks, gets like a $40K banger, made like $2,500 to $3,000. Well, before that, he was like, dude, he's like, man, I don't know if I'm able to pay my rent or whatever. I said, bro, how much you rent? $1,200. I'm like, all right, here. I sent it to him, paid his rent, and gave him gas money. You know what I mean? I sent him like $1,500. And then a week or so later, he got that big banger check. Saturday, he texted me. He's like, man, I just don't know if I'm feeling it. That dude quit right there. And then he went to Texas Workforce Commission and filed unemployment. And they called James, and James had to reach out to me to make sure that everything was clear on our end. And that just shows you that whenever, you never know with those people, man.
Yeah. If it's not meant to be, it's not
gambling.
Well, you guys call this thing discipline, desire, and dedication. You're now how many episodes in? 37?
Yeah, probably 37, yeah.
I'm sure there's been some guys that have come on the podcast that afterwards you're like, okay, that guy wasn't the real deal. But you've had at least 25, 26 of the real deal. Mm-hmm. What are some common traits you're seeing?
It's always mindset.
Yeah.
Everybody, they come in and they see their vision, and they're chasing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
There's so many people, even in my office now, that they show up because this is their opportunity, but it's job mentality versus growth mentality. And I'd say that the people that actually have success, whether it's UFC fighters or, a door-to-door space, marketing, real estate, whoever's successful, it's their level of belief in themselves. I love the Conor McGregor quote: if you can see it, if you can speak it,
if you believe it, you can see it, and you can speak it, it will happen.
Yeah, and it's just belief in yourself. I always say if you doubt yourself in your pinky toenail, you're not going to achieve the successes that you want. You have to. It's crazy to say, but one of my life goals is to buy Grant Cardone's jet.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire, but he's got GC on the back. I'm Garrett Cotton.
Yeah.
That's my jet. Yeah. But I'm crazy enough to speak it. That's what I'm fighting towards.
Yep.
I think it's interesting that you guys, the name doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, discipline, desire, dedication, right? Mm-hmm. But I think all three of those are incredibly key. But for me, I would have thought you would have said desire, because for me personally, I'm not the most disciplined individual, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm a lazy piece of shit, right? But what's never, ever left me is this desire for more, right? Mm-hmm. When I get into, people would look at me and what I have and things and think, oh, he's made it. But I constantly just feel like I'm the small guy in the room. I look at these other guys and I'm like, okay, he must be making more because of the way that guy talks. And then I come to find out that all of them are full of it. But I'm constantly trying to be the small fish in a large pool because, to me, damnation is not fire and brimstone. Damnation is a literal damning, a stopping, not being able to progress and go forward, right? Mm-hmm. And so desire has never left me. I want more. And my wife, sometimes she'll get, she doesn't do it so much anymore because I think she understands. But we got our first apartment, and it was a 2-bedroom, and it was bigger than anything she'd ever had before. And I hated it. And she was so happy. And I was like, I don't like that my walls touch somebody else's walls. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. And so then we moved into the next house, and that one was much nicer, but it's too small for me. And even now, I've got a large home, and I'm like, it feels too small to me. Mm-hmm. And she hates that I don't have, there's this book called The Psychology of Money. I read a lot of books, listen to a lot of books. And he talks about CEO A and CEO B. He says CEO A is worth 10 million, CEO B is worth 100 million. And he asks CEO A, well, what's the difference between you two? And he says, well, I've got something that he'll never have, which is I have enough. Mm-hmm. And the book was trying to say, like, CEO A was correct, that I have enough, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. I'm like, F that. I want to be B. I am B, where I'll never have enough. I want more. I want more. Do you guys think that's toxic? Or do you think that's correct, or what do you?
No, I agree with you.
Well, it's the biblical. You're right. God wants us to be righteous. He wants us to have a fruitful life. So it's not wrong to want more. We're capable. If we have the potential to earn something or to make something of our lives, I feel like we need to chase it with everything. You're wasting your purpose on life if you're not chasing that kind of stuff. Because we're blessed. Like Alex Hormozy says it, is I do it because others can't. Right? Yeah. It's kind of like that mentality. It's like I was blessed with this ability and this mindset and this drive, and there's 99% of the world that doesn't have that mindset. I'm ruining my life if I don't chase that type of big picture. So I don't think it's selfish. For me, I always want more. Anytime I have money, like I make money, and I always feel broke. I get a $100K check, and I'm broke.
Well, to be biblical, it's the tale of the talons, right? It's like. I've been given 5, and what do I come back with? I give them the same 5, I give them less, or I return back with more,
Yeah. No, it's true. Does that make sense to you?
What's that?
You look confused over there.
No, I was just thinking.
Here's a question for you guys that I've often struggled with. At work, I'm the man, right? When I go into work, I don't know if everybody has to listen to me, but everybody does listen to me. Or they kind of have to, right? I make a call, and it's just done, right? But when I go home, I'll often fight with my wife because I'm used to just saying things and having it be done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right? And she doesn't. She always says, I don't work for you. And I always tell her the same thing. I said, yeah, because if you did, I would fire you. But how do you guys balance the fact that at work, you're big boss, powerful people got to listen to you, you got to go home, and it's not that way?
Dylan Krafasi told me I was getting soft since I had a baby. Yeah. Because it's hard, especially Caitlin's been pregnant 2 years in a row. Sometimes I can't go home and be the boss. Sometimes she's got to be the boss. So I'll get back to being a boss at home after this kid.
I would say I kind of just let Journey run the house. You know what I mean? Especially with recruits living there and stuff like that. Like that's her palace. You know what I mean? Like when we're there, no shoes on the carpet. That's Journey's rule.
Yeah, if you're the king, you got to treat her like the queen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the biggest things because. Like in our position right now, it's so important if you have a +1 that y'all are on the same page, right? And
gotta be.
Yeah, gotta be.
I've watched too many people crash out because their significant other was not on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think there should ever be a separation of work and family?
It can't be. It's impossible.
Not if you want to grow.
Yeah, it's impossible. It's impossible because my wife has been incredibly supportive, not in she's not making calls or anything like that, but she just understands that I must work. If I don't work, I'll die inside. I have to do it. And so she's from a very early stage realized that she just has to let me do what I do. And that doesn't just include work, but if I want to go to the casino, the things that I have to do to be able to continue to blow steam off, whatever it is, she's fully on board with it. And I've watched guys that their wife or significant other is not on board, and it ruins them. It ruins them, and it can't work.
Yeah, that support's the biggest thing, especially because if they are pulling you back from, I mean, you're dragging weight.
Yeah. And there's times that it's hard, right? But it's just like you got to sacrifice. I always say you can either use it as an excuse or you can use it as your purpose. You can sit here and you can say, "Oh, I got to go do this," or you can say, "Oh no, I need to go do that for this." Yeah. So it's perspective.
Well, and you start to, I read one of my sales leaders way back from not even door to door. The company had gone public, and he had written how he had done all these things, but basically he had said that the passion doesn't precede the work, it follows it. Right? Too many times people say that, well, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, but that's horseshit, to be honest. The truth of the matter is that if you go to work, if you go build and just go, eventually you'll come to love it. None of us thought we were going to be window men. Nope. No. I mean, who grows up thinking they're going to be a window man? But now you look at what you've created, and it's so incredibly proud that I built that thing, right?
Yeah.
What you guys have built is incredible. I mean, it's you are the top in this company, which is the top in the world, which means it means something to me to be. It's like what I tell the closers: if you can be the top closer at Performance Windows, it means in our niche in the window sales world, you are the top in the entire world. And who gets to say that? I mean, it's about pride. The money comes, but it's about pride. It's always been for me.
I want you to kind of talk because obviously me, you, and Cotton, we all been have a friendship since we've been here. But there's a lot of people within our Louisiana downline that have never really got on a personal basis with you, right? What would you say is some of our biggest, I guess you can say, strengths that maybe separates us from other people that buy into your system?
In terms of the Louisiana squad?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Recruiting for sure. I mean, that's a willingness to have people in, live in your home. That is, you guys knew Edwin, but you didn't know Jessica before that. And a lot of the people that we had build up, you guys didn't know TC and a few people that I would have live in my house and things. Mm-hmm. I think there hasn't been people who have done that since then. So you guys having that recruiting has been a key part. You guys have got the strength and weakness put together in that you aren't worried about door interactions, in that you're very happy to push through objections, and that becomes a problem because then you guys push too much through objections. And we've got no worse reviews than in the Louisiana office.
Hey, look, sell or be sold.
But, and just a vision for getting out. I mean, that's how I've always had, is that you could put me in, I was actually having a philosophical discussion with Levi the other day where he's like, do you ever feel like you're, I don't want to put his side of the conversation out wrong either, but he asked, do you ever feel like you're chosen by God, right? And that's not to come off too prideful, but have you guys ever had that thought, like, I'm chosen by God?
I truly have, and I think it goes deeper because, like, just my family in general, like my mom, her dad. Well, there's a long story behind it where it's said that he committed suicide, but there's also other ideas out there that he didn't. That maybe because he was right-handed. There was just things didn't add up, and so because of that, my mom, she was 13 whenever he did that. So 13 years old, she lived her whole life, struggled. When she had her kid, or when she was having me, she said she prayed her entire pregnancy that I would be like her dad. So I think all the time of, like, my whole life, life has been good. We were never the richest family, or we never did anything. Like, my dad built houses and my mom was a nurse, And so we did all right throughout our whole entire life. But I've always felt like I have a purpose. Like, I feel like, in a sense, I'm almost going to be walking in my grandpa's footsteps because I always heard stories about how much of a people's person he was, and everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to be around him and all this kind of stuff. And I felt like because my mom prayed for that her whole pregnancy, it was like I was becoming what he couldn't be. So I feel like I do have a purpose on this earth. And I never knew what it was, but even when I was working at Chili's, I would pray for the opportunity for somebody to. I used to be at Chili's, and I had a guy from Australia that there's an airport in Hammond, and he would fly into Hammond Airport, and he would come eat at Chili's like once every 6 months. And he was a kind of a regular because he would come every time he was in town. And he'd sit at the bar, and I was like, dear Lord, please let this guy just recruit me and, like, tell me to come to Australia. I don't even know what he did. But I'm like, if it's in Australia and he's traveling here to Australia, that's amazing. That's something, I don't even know what the job could be. And I told myself that I would pray for that opportunity to take me out of Louisiana. And then 6 or 8 months go by, and then I got the phone call from Carson. And that call came, and that was, 2 weeks later I was on a plane because I knew that's what I had been asking for. The Bible says, ask and you shall receive. You don't know when you're going to receive it, but if you're looking for a bigger picture, you're going to receive that.
Yeah. And the point I want to make here, though, is that we are, I'm a very religious person, right? I do believe that we are called by God to do things, but God doesn't choose us to make money. He doesn't choose us to people say, pray to let me hit the lottery. God doesn't, he doesn't stick his hand in the Mega Millions.
No.
Yeah.
But what I think comes off as we're chosen sometimes is that it's actually this thing where we're actually just a survivor. And this is what the deep philosophical point I was trying to make is that if you drop me in the middle of the jungle, I would figure out how to have a nice hut and do all these things and be very successful in the jungle and think, oh, this was all meant to happen so I could be here. I think it's actually just something inside of guys like us where we could be dropped in any shitty situation and make it the best possible.
Yeah.
And then our brain makes us think, oh, all those things happen for a reason. When in reality, you could drop me in the middle of a prison and I would find a way to make it really nice and think, oh, it all happened for a reason. I think that's from the Louisiana squad. I see a lot of is just this. If you drop me anywhere, I will not just survive, but I will thrive. And then we attribute it to God, of course, because he does give us the blessings for it. But I think it's just this inner workings where we've all come from either not a great circumstance. I grew up with money, but then the second I got married, I was cut off. And so if I wanted to have that, what I had, I had to go do it. And I think that's what makes a lot of the top performers here tick is just this, drop me anywhere and I'm going to survive and I'm going to thrive.
And I think the Louisiana culture is we see, like you said earlier, damnation is being stopped. There is no growth past that. I felt that, big when I'm starting to explore real estate, like going through school, any job that I can kind of take, like literally just looking at numbers to survive. It's kind of like you feel like you're at that dam. There's no other steps. So that's why I prayed for an opportunity out. And I didn't know where it was going to go. But whenever Carson told me there's a script, you're going to Utah and you're knocking doors, I literally felt like I was going to be an actor in California, in Hollywood within 5 years. I was like, they give me a script, I'm gonna be an actor. And I was like, I don't know what, I'm gonna knock on someone's door and they're gonna be like, dude, that was amazing. You need to come work. And I thought that this was gonna open the doors to another opportunity. In reality, this was the opportunity.
When you look at performance windows now, obviously we did 83 million last year. What would you say is the biggest thing that you're excited for, in let's say the next 2 years? What's something that really just fuels you to makes you super excited?
It's tough because once you reach a certain level of making money, making more money doesn't really do anything. I mean, they say money doesn't buy happiness, and they're right. It doesn't. The truth about making money is that it doesn't buy you happiness, but it gives you the ability to stop worrying about money.
Right.
And that, if the biggest fights me and my wife would have back then was just I was broke as hell, and I wanted to give her the things that she had, and so. But what I'm most excited for, it's tough. I mean, we're adding other product this year, which we're going to tell you guys about tomorrow. We've got other things coming down the pike, but it's seeing the people that a great example. You guys had Heidi on the podcast.
Yeah.
Heidi used to sleep in her car. She used to. I'm telling you, she was the biggest.
I've heard some stories.
She was the biggest pain in the butt possible, and now she's an incredible market owner.
Yep.
We just shipped B-Rob off. B-Rob is I'm sure he'll listen, huge pain in the ass.
He knows that, too.
Yeah.
He loves it.
But he's going to go off and be a market owner. And so, for me, it's seeing somebody that is just so impossible to deal with and see them make money that they never dreamed of. And see them have problems that I had at this stage and this stage and this stage. Because, I've never had a problem loving the people that work for me. Never. I mean, and there used to be this guy. You guys will know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name him due to pending litigation. But he used to always say, "I hate that guy, and I hate that guy, and I hate that guy." I'm like, dude, how could you hate these people? They make you money, they work for you, they do all these things. How can you have the expression of hate? I have guys that piss me off, that drive me nuts, but I've never hated a guy that's worked for me, never. Right. And so for me, what I'm most excited for is to see who emerges. It's always crazy, isn't it? Always insane to you to see. I mean, look at Jacko. Oh man! I mean, Jacko was.
He's a mission.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him a closer. I promise.
I mean, nobody could have had hope for Jacko. And look at him; he's getting all these closes. I mean, for me, the most exciting thing always is seeing somebody that starts at zero, and maybe even starts at zero and then goes negative, and then they become, we're like, where the hell did this guy come
Like
from?
Dylan Crevasse,
Yeah.
19 years old.
And so that's what's most exciting for me is to see somebody who's at zero or sitting at home and hasn't even heard of Performance Windows yet, comes in and changes their life because it is a life-changing company.
What would you say is what would you say, because obviously we've been talking about the Louisiana culture a lot, what would you say is y'all's biggest challenge as far as like recruiting people locally?
Locally as in Utah? Utah specifically has its own problems in that it is a door-knocking culture, right? So there is 10,000 options to go knock, and people won't hear about it, or they'll get burned by a different organization. They'll have gone and done Pest or Soul or whatever it is. And so it makes it difficult because they think we're just like somebody else, and we're not. Whereas when we go into other places, it's easier to pitch because they haven't heard of door-to-door. They're like, oh, door-to-door, that's weird. Okay, I'll come check it out. But they haven't had a friend have a bad experience. They haven't had a family member have a bad experience. But Utah is such a door-knocking culture that there's too much bad experiences out there that they can't see the forest through the trees on us. It's harder to take a leap of opportunity because they figure we'll just be like everybody else.
Right. Okay. And you think that in other markets as well that maybe have some door to door?
Phoenix also, obviously Utah's a very LDS culture.
Right.
And we spend 2 years, but a lot of the time knocking on doors as missionaries.
Yep.
So Arizona has a lot of has a lot of LDS people, and Boise. So it's a lot of that. But you also got to think about it's scary for people, to come in cold. Because your friends, they all see you guys have success, and they know you, so then they come in, right?
Yep.
But, it also comes down to who a market owner is and how they're leading it, how the closers are doing. There's a lot of factors that determine, because if a new recruit comes in and sees an empty board, it's hard to tell them that they're going to get 5 sales in their first month, right? Or if they come in and see a chock full board, like you'll see in Denver and Phoenix a lot of times, that's why they're able to rebuild so fast, Austin, then it's easier to tell them that they're going to make money because everybody else is making money.
Yeah. They can fall in the culture, and it doesn't take as much one-on-one time because the culture is winning.
And even with the door-to-door companies in Utah today, right? Why do you feel that a lot of reps from other companies in this location are still scared to take the jump to Performance Windows when they see the numbers that we're doing?
The problem you've got in the door-to-door industry is a lot of sales managers will sit across the desk from somebody and lie through their teeth. They'll tell them that you're going to make $1 million and Saturday is party Saturdays and all these different things. So the problem is people think we're lying, right? We put out this big check Fridays. We put out all these things, but people still don't know if we're telling the truth or not. And that's what I always tell everybody. I say, give me 2 weeks. See if I'm telling you the truth. If I'm lying, I want you to come hit me in the head with a rock hammer, right? Because I'm so confident that we're telling the truth. But that's the hurdle to get over is misinformation from other companies.
And I think that's one of the advantages that we have as our Louisiana culture. We were talking to Zorn yesterday, and we never had any experience with any other door-to-door company. Nobody we knew had any experience. So it's kind of hard for us to understand what you're talking about, sitting across the table and somebody just blatantly lying to me. You know what I mean?
Because your guys' first experience with it was with us. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's one of our biggest advantages is that we never had that bad taste in our mouth,
Yeah, in Louisiana, there's not opportunity coming to you, even lying like this.
Yeah.
The lying opportunity was $60K a year.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, shit, $60K?
And I remember, what's funny is I remember making $60K a year. My big goal was to make $100,000 in a year. Can you guys imagine how ruined you'd be if you only made 100 G's this year?
Be broke.
It'd be impossible.
It'd be impossible.
It'd be impossible.
Yeah, that's extremely hard. But it's awesome.
Awesome, bro. Let's see if we can wrap up some. Maybe one more topic we can talk about. That'd be pretty interesting.
We could talk about, aside from Performance Windows, so you definitely have your podcast. Do you have any kind of like big plans? Or what's some of the goals that you as a business owner, what's some of the goals that you set for yourself for this year?
So I also own Bad Bit Productions, which is where we're shooting here. Yeah, here's the real problem. I'll say with any when you're successful in one business is you start thinking you're King Midas and anything you touch turns to gold.
Yep.
But sometimes it turns to shit. But with Bad Bet, it's been a long process. And this year, we've kind of taken a couple shifts here. And it's my goal for Bad Bet Productions this year is to make 500 G's out of this thing this year, which would be nice. And what it really is, this gives me the opportunity. I'm friends with UFC fighters. I grew up watching UFC. It gives me the opportunity to be in rooms. I got invited to the inauguration for Trump on the 20th or something like that, and I can't make it. But I got to meet Donald Trump down there in Vegas and do all these things, and it's like, oh, wow. I'm just some jackass. So it's giving me a lot of opportunity to be places I'd like to be, but now I'd like it to make some money. So that's my big goal this year is for this thing to clear $500,000. My big goal for Performance Windows this year is for it to clear $150 million. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, this past year, me and Levi, we reinvested basically everything. So this past year, I actually made less than I made 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, even though we did 20-something million more because we brought on regionals, but we've been dumping money into retail. Yeah. We've been trying to make as much, and we spent a lot of money on Indeed. What we're trying to do is make the market owner position a lot more sustainable for a long term so that you guys we make you guys money. So this year I'd like to make, I will. I mean, we've done all the reinvesting now, so now we're able to make the money, so that'll be nice. But I want to do $150 million, and what I'd like is by the end of this year, I'd like 3 regionals, three new regionals. Yeah. I've got 2 already, so it'd be 5 total. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, after that, it's about being able to, my titles with the company is president and CRO, right? Mm-hmm. Chief Revenue Officer. I'd like to be able to learn to be more of a traditional CRO. My goal always, I fight with Levi about this a lot. And when we fight, it's always good for the company. I can't speak enough about that partnership. Without Levi, none of this would be possible.
It's very impressive how good y'all work together.
And especially because, I'm a
totally
dick
different
and he's a dick. So we but when we fight, it's good for the company. And I'm constantly trying to make us more into a Vivint, into a, not their ways, but to be more corporate, right? Because if we're more corporate, then it can be even bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
More planning.
Yeah, I fight them about, and it's still necessary at this point. You won't find leaders in the space that are still as involved as Levi and I are typically, right? But I try and fight against the 8 p.m. Voxers and all these things. And I'm like, you know what? We should do this up until 5 o'clock. We should do this. And there's still going to be growing pains and things, but that's what I hope for. Is I hope for this to become an organization where the regionals are running a lot more of the things then the market owners are running. So then we can make decisions based on new product and different things that I don't have to worry about if this closer is doing something.
Yeah. Do you ever get worried about change being bad?
Elaborate.
So like I just think about, so as I'm growing in this company, I always tell myself, replicate what I've done to get here. Replicate the type of involvement, like you're saying, 8 p.m. Boxers and stuff like that, like being on Trello boards, like that type of involvement for myself. As the company's getting larger and you're having regionals in place, it's a little bit less on your 24/7 mindset of Performance Windows. But does that ever worry you as far as taking less off?
Yeah. No matter what, we always replace it with something else. Mm-hmm. So now I run all these Indeed interviews.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
Yeah. And
that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
You've done that so far.
And anytime that I'm handing something off, it's so that I can take something on that's bigger.
Okay.
Right? So it's never going to be, you're never going to find, until me and Levi sell in 10, 15, 20 years, it's never going to be a point where we're absentee owners because it's icky inside. I mean, if I go on vacation for 3 days, I'm like, shit, I got to get back. Yeah. I got to get back. You know what I mean? And so to answer your question, is change scary? I think we've gotten really used to change. You'll see a lot of, sometimes the companies that spin off, right? They weren't there when we were making these decisions back 2 years ago. which informs these decisions we make today.
Yeah.
So when they leave, all they know is up to this point, but then they have to get to the point where they have to make the next decision. But they weren't there when these ones were being made, so they don't know why when they choose this way, it's choosing wrong.
Yeah.
Because they weren't there to make these decisions years ago, how it's all this continuous chain, right?
Yeah.
So me and Levi, we've been making the decisions from the beginning. And so we know, okay, we can't choose that way because we've seen the mistakes over here and here and here. Yeah. Every time you see a company breaks off from us, what do? They try and pay more. They try and tell people to work less.
They do different.
Exactly.
Yeah. Change.
Do you feel like that trend is over?
People breaking off?
Yep.
Yes, in a major part for a couple of reasons. The mostly being is that we've made the market owner position more sustainable for a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? Before, when did you become market owner?
August of 2023.
Were we ordering your windows, or did you ever order windows?
I think I was the swap. So when I came in, Kalea was ordering windows, but they never trained me on that.
Yeah, so it used to be that you guys, market owner position is still very difficult. That's why you get paid so well. But now we've made that you guys can be mostly sales managers, right, which drives sales. Right? You still have to handle your back end for the most part, but we order all your windows. We do a ton to recruit for you guys. We do, we want you to take those Saturdays off if you've got good historical months and things. Basically, I think a lot of guys were getting run so ragged that they may as well just have their own company or whatever. That was their thought process.
Yeah. If it's worth that much headache, yeah.
Yeah, I may as well just be my own boss. And you guys still are your own boss in a way. You're partners with us. But now the idea is that you guys are making more money than you would make if you broke off on your own, right? You guys all, I can tell you, make more than the companies that have – you guys as market owners, you make more than the companies that have broken off, right? And you have to do less. So that's been the big shift for us. I think that's where where a lot of the worry about those – because I'll tell you, that was probably the worst time in my life was we had 2 or 3 guys break off at once and also tell us – this is the end of performance windows.
Oh, they said that?
Yeah. Saying that performance windows isn't going to progress anymore. It's kind of dead. No. So I'm going to go do this. And then we, of course, we added $20 million to what we made, and we're proud of it. But we've now made the market owner position that you'll make much more staying here anyway. So, and especially as regional. Garrett, I don't know if you put your money out there.
Oh, yeah.
But Garrett, you cleared $1 million last year. $1 million. That's gross. How old are you?
27.
27 years old. I was about a year and a half into 27. Let's see, 92. 92 is 2019. I hadn't even started the company. At 20, I was hoping to make 100 G's when I was 27 years old.
Yep.
Made $1 million.
Whoa. Yep. Not even planned that coming over here. I was looking forward to 8 to 10K a month.
Yeah.
And that was like the biggest thing. Do you still sell the idea? Because one thing that you said at the very beginning that was so appealing to me is entry level is good money. Not being closer is life changing, and the market owner is that generational
money.
Do you still preach that to the people that come in?
100%. Because when you honestly being a knocker is usually life changing, but it's great money, right? When you become a closer,
stupid money now, bro.
Now for sure.
I remember because
6, 7, 8% as a knocker. Yeah,
I've been here for 3 raises in this company in 2.5 years.
And how many commission decreases have you seen?
Never.
0. Because it would be bedlam.
And that's what I always tell people is like it's hard enough to recruit because people already don't believe the money we make. And then you show them that, we got an increase. And sometimes it did make it hard to recruit. But
they don't believe us.
It's crazy.
They don't believe
me personally, I think the pay increase for the knockers hurt it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, that was one of those things that was just a response to the times and being different companies out there. Makes sense to me, okay. But it does make it a hard thing for knockers to stay consistent because they get the first sale of the week.
4,000.
4 G's, and they're covered for the month.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guy, keep working. How do you convince a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old who just made 10 G's in a week to keep working?
We tell them spend that money. Spend it as soon as it comes in.
Go to the casino.
Let's kind of talk about that real quick before we wrap up, because that's something I know you said that you were going to focus on yourself. That's something that I did because it goes back to your question. what bad financial moves have you made? I made 570 this year and completely broke. You know what I mean? But it's a learning lesson. But you made a good point to me, and actually one of my guys in my office, I was hooking me up with Blake and Brandon, and he was like, bro, I ain't got no money. And I was like, well, dude, Cotton been with these guys for a year, and he literally said that he wished he would have started with them as a knocker.
With no money.
Right, with no money.
No plan. You don't know where you're going.
Right. So I would say just especially for people within performance windows that are listening, even if you're a knocker into the company, go ahead and get a professional involved to help you, prepare for your taxes, right? Have somebody, helping you manage your money so you don't wake up, in April and you got a $15,000, $20,000 tax bill or whatever.
I still don't know if Dylan's set up.
What?
I still don't know if Dylan's set up. I've been trying to get him set up.
Are you in with Jeff?
No, oh yeah, Jeff
Yeah.
Castle, yeah, and Dakota is too now. Lizzie, we got
That's the
all of
way
us.
to do
Yeah, we've got all of our people. I've been pumping them. Everybody in Austin's
Kessler's
going to
the one to do it.
Yep. And then just making sure you got somebody just helping you manage your money. I got lined up with a financial advisor just kind of helping me, build out some plans and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also that's a good resource. You guys should talk to Levi. We get a lot of opportunities across our desk. What you guys got to get really good at though is telling people no. Because
it's hard, but
the problem is people come to me and I'm like, oh, only 20 G's? Done. Right? And it's like, oh, this is a terrible idea. I shouldn't have done any of that.
Yeah.
So I get real good at telling people no. But yes, if you don't have your tax man lined up, you're screwed. That tax man, he's saved me over $1 million.
Well, the thing is that, what was it, first week of December? This was before my December 15th, my market on a check. And I've been having a CPA, and I got in touch with Jeff, and I'm like, hey, Jeff, I've been paying these guys to do my books and everything. Here it is. And he's like, well, ain't nobody been doing your books, but I've been paying them. And he's like, so we're on this Zoom call, you know what I mean? And he's like, what are your write-offs? I'm like, I bought a race car.
He's like, that didn't do it.
Yeah, he's like, no, that don't do it. He's like, well, we need to send $50,000 to this medical company, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 50 G's, I ain't got it. You know what I mean? And but being prepared for that, because I laughed. I told Levi, I was like, man, I'm gonna figure out this making money stuff, because when you make that type of money, you got to be prepared for those type of problems. It's not like tax return where we from. Yeah. We looking for our check.
Yeah.
How much we getting back?
That everybody looks forward to tax season because we get returns.
Yeah. In fact, one of the last great years is when you get a refund check, because after that, every year is just the worst. I just had to send 200 G's to a movie company so I could get a big ride, and it's just you don't got it. No. And the worst thing is when you make all this money and you're broke as hell.
Yep.
But the beautiful part now is our broke. People would love to have our broke.
Yeah, right.
That's true. It's not like old broke. Old broke was terrible.
We're broke, but we got a lot of money away in places. But I don't see it.
It's coming, but yeah. Cool.
But yeah, that's something that I've really focused on, is just and preaching in my office is, look, because like you said, whenever you started up, there wasn't, you call Pops, ask him his opinion on what to do. But especially if you're with Performance Windows, man, reach out to your market owner, ask him for some advice, some CPAs, stuff like that.
Or her.
Yeah, or her. Yep, or her. Yeah, Heidi and Lizzie. Lizzie get mad for sure. But yeah, reach out to your market owner. They'd be glad to give you some advice for sure and help you along the process, because it is a process making a lot of money. So, you got any last words you want to say to the audience?
No, just genuinely, I can tell you that what is preached here by these two guys is lived. It's incredible to watch people fall in love with the thing that I've also fallen in love. Honestly, I've got one best friend outside of Performance Windows. Every other friend I've got is Performance Windows, because it's just been my entire life. And when you throw yourself into a good cause, watching the lives that's changed and seeing you guys change your lives and change the lives of others has been truly gratifying. So I appreciate everything you guys do, and glad to see and excited to see for what you guys have in the future.
No, bro, we can't appreciate you for what you do. You and Levi. We told you when we came in here. I was always laughing. A year ago today, we was sitting on that side right there. You told me I was market owner. You know what I mean? Yep. And ain't nothing changed from that day. And we can't thank you enough for y'all's support and y'all's mentorship to help us get to where we want to go.
Yep. It's just getting started.
Yep, just getting started. start. It's just beginning. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also on Facebook, make sure you're liking and sharing the post. And drop a comment below. And if you are interested in possibly coming on the podcast, make sure to send us a DM. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.